final piece to the puzzle. Can't wait. Get the sucker installed. Bracket. Holy God. Gonna get these rails set here on the seat. Let's see, they go like this, I would imagine. Obviously this is going to need to face the front of the seat because your adjuster lever goes toward the front of the seat. So there you go. All right, that was almost too simple. So you just have to push this down, slide the rail forward and backward, expose the mounting points, and tighten them down. Now we'll get them evened up, and we'll stick the handle here on these two pins. Slid it on. These are evened out. Brought them down to the same notch on both sides. That way we can ensure everything is equal. And just pop this on. I actually used a little rubber mallet. Bing. Just to tap it on. You want to get it down and seated nicely so you don't have any worries about it popping off, and works perfectly now, nice and smooth. So right now we're gonna start installing the bad boy. So I was just taking a look back here to make sure I had the bracket positioned facing the right direction. So this is the rear of the seat, and we know now that this is going to be kind of a weird shaped side. Rug. All right. So looking at the bracket like this, I'm assuming this is the front. But we'll take a look here inside the car. Here's the front of the seat. Gonna be a good time to do some vacuuming in here. So you can see this bracket here, short, still at an angle. Almost a little bit more of a severe angle for this one, more vertical. So that would lead me to believe that that would be this one here, more vertical. This one is still slightly at an angle, but a little bit more horizontal. Backs are the same. For the best way for me to start out is to just position it with the seat upside down. Obviously this is the front, and we determined that this will be the front. So hopefully all the holes line up, and the mounting holes immediately seem that they do in fact line up. I suppose we just try to kind of center them so they're equal. Mounting locations, and we did get our hardware, so we can see the holes line up on the sliders here and here. And I did try to confirm that it looks tight, but there's enough room that this portion of the slider is raised slightly from the actual bracket itself, so it's going to allow it to slide freely. If this obviously was rubbing the base, you'd have a tough time sliding your seat back and forth, kind of making your slider obsolete or unnecessary or just not functional. So I'm going to get the nuts and bolts here, get this thing mounted up, and then we'll start disassembly of the factory seat. going to want to unplug the battery, but first it's a good idea to at least loosen the factory bracket or the factory base while your car still has power to it, because you want to be able to adjust the power seat so you can expose the bolts. It's a 14 millimeter socket. All right, everything is undone. We got the both sets of bolts out. The seat is loose. So all we got to do is get underneath and disconnect the wires. But first we got to take a look at what we're dealing with. Probably this back halfway or so. Here view of what we're dealing with underneath here. The yellow is your airbag for the the shoulder airbag, and obviously then your power seat components. So what we want to do is probably pop this little guy out here, because that keeps it secure to the seat. We obviously want to separate everything, but before we disconnect these two, we want to make sure the battery's unplugged, at least the negative terminal. And we'll then hit the brake a couple of times, make sure you dissipate all that power that might be running through the system. And then we'll disconnect some of these things, and we'll talk a little bit about the resistor that we're going to put in line here, the airbag, and cross our fingers and hope to baby Jesus, 6 pound 9 ounce baby Jesus that is going to prevent the airbag light from coming on in our dash. This is what we're working with. Let's go ahead and unplug the battery right now. I'm just trying to keep it simple, so basically just cut the wire ties, because nonsense, whatever. Kind of release the wire harness. This bad boy plugs in right there. It's just this little tab, in case you're wondering. Pushes in, releases it, and we have the airbag guy right here. So oh gosh, guess nothing left to do but pull it out of there. And then what we have to do is place the resistor in this end. So it creates some resistance, which tricks the system into thinking that the airbag here is still plugged in. All right, there it is, separated. So I don't know if you can see right down in there, those two little openings is where we want to link the resistor. Essentially put one side of the resistor in one and the other side of the resistor in the other. Like I said, this is the part that makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not a big electronics guy. So these were the set of resistors that I ordered first. And you can tell that there's 2 red stripes and 2 gold stripes on each of them, which apparently signifies that they are 2.2 ohm quarter watt resistors. And the guy that the site or whatever, the eBay store that I purchased them from actually calls them airbag light resistors. I mean, it says that they work for, this rating works for a number of different makes and models, and essentially this is the one to go with. But when I got them, I noticed that they are super tiny, and I don't know if it's because the quality is different and it's not, a large size isn't required, but every one of them that I've seen online was much bigger than this. In fact, they looked like these. Difference. Again, red, gold, 2.2 ohm quarter watt resistors, but significantly larger. I know they can range in size, but it was something like 6 millimeters to 8 millimeters. These aren't even close. So I guess because of the ones that I've seen online being this larger size on YouTube, other videos, I think that's the one I'm going to go with. Even though these specifically came from a seller that said they're airbag resistors. I don't know. If anybody knows, it's too late to correct me. We'll go and make it a shape like this so it plugs in simply and easily. looks a little janky, but I shortened them down a little bit, just so it was a little lower profile, and then I'll wrap this in tape. It's a little bit of a cheapo way to do it, but you know, you can buy a $40 one or something from Bride and just stick it in there. It looks a little nicer, but you know, I got a pack of 100 of these for $4.95, so I guess this is good enough. All right, so just loop some black tape, some electrical tape around the top, and then a little bit around the sides. I suppose you want to keep it relatively secure from water or dampness, not like, you know, the car's getting flooded with water anyway, but it can't hurt. So just, you know, make sure it's sealed up decently, and I guess fingers crossed that it works. From what I hear now is that this flap gives us enough room to hide the cords. So here we go. Let's see what we got here. Golden. Let's try to get this sucker out now. Oh boy. I don't think it'll be as hard as I thought. Just try not to poke holes. She's out. I tried to set these both on a scale to see what the difference was, and I don't have a scale that's proper for weighing the weights, and there's just no good way to put it on there. But doing the old one-arm lifteroo with the factory seat, it's pretty heavy. I gotta say, it's probably close to 75 pounds or so. And lifting this with the base, they're not super like unbelievably different. I don't lift this one up and have to heave ho, and then lift this one up and it's like, oh, light as a feather. But definitely there's a difference. I would say it's probably close to a 20-pound difference. Not as dramatic as I was hoping. I was, you know, thinking this one might end up being around 40, and this one, you know, 75, 80 pounds. I heard some people saying they were like 70, 79, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like 79, but I could definitely see it being 65 to 70. So even if we got a 20-pound weight reduction for just one seat, that's pretty significant. And if we get the second one ever taken out of here, you know, that's a good 40 to 50-pound weight reduction. That's pretty awesome. I'm sure I didn't have to tell you, but I'm a moron. An easy way to tell you how the bracket needs to be oriented is this guy right here. That's where you bolt the seat belt. Oh, duh, it's got to go on the right-hand side. Jeez Louise. I think we're going to set it in the same way we took the factory seat out. Just kind of lean it in and kind of roll it up into place. Take the seat belt off, and of course, I should have known there's going to be a little pigtail with a clip. Remember to plug this back in. Even though we buried all those wires. this planted bracket seems to have fit perfectly in place. So we're just bolting it down, front and back, and we will be all set. It helps to leave them a little bit loose, no matter what side you start, whether it's front or back, just so you can get the rest of them lined up and started. Then you can go through and tighten them all down. Don't forget to get underneath your seat and plug that seat belt connector back in. Just a look from the back side, but she's in and looking sick. I'm about to sit in the seat. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not sure if it's going to be a little too low. I'm thinking we might have to make some custom spacers to get the seat up a little bit. It looks a little bit low for my preference right now. I was curious, or actually, I had wondered that a little bit, but we're going to go for it. Let's see what she's like right now. Gotta get used to sitting in these seats. Oh, it's not too low. The problem might be with a helmet though for autocross, but we might have just enough clearance. Bro, this is so perfect. You can see there's plenty of clearance here. Ooh, gotta vacuum the rest of this car out, but golly. Oh, it looks so good in there. Pardon my sniffles, coronavirus, obviously. Look at this though. Jeez, guys, this thing is sick. I don't know what your opinions are, but I'm super pumped. Like I said, wanted it to be relatively close matching to a factory interior, and I think, we could obviously get closer, right? I mean, it's not perfect, but it blends right in, and it's not like super, doesn't stand out super like a sore thumb compared to the passenger seat. But yo, so good. All right, guys, here's the real test. Battery's plugged in. I guess we'll just fire it up. See what happens. Oh, success! Oh my God. Okay, we got the garage door closed. Turn the car off. Turn the car off. Thank God. So these little guys here, just one of them. Super important little element in this whole equation. 2.2 ohm, 1/4 watt resistor. This is what you're going to want to make this purchase if you're going to swap out at least the driver's seat in your Q50. Keep that in mind. Link in the description. You can bet that I'm going to do a full review on the seat after we get some seat time, if you will, and really give my opinions. It's going to definitely take some getting used to getting in and out of a car with this much bolstering, this much stiff support, but it'll be fun. But what I'm noticing right away, and I don't know if you can notice this, there's quite a bit of movement in the seat, and it was kind of annoying me as I'm just kind of testing to see how it's planted, and it's not. I was thinking maybe I didn't get the bolts tightened or the nuts tightened on the brackets. Oh, this is a pretty good view actually. What it is the movement in the slides, and of course there's got to be some movement because it's got to be able to slide on its rails. But look at the amount of movement in these rails, and my fear is that I'm going to be able to feel that. I don't. there's very little lateral movement, but the back and forth, like the front to back, is there's quite a bit. And you know, once I get the weight on the rail, sitting in it, maybe it won't be so bad. But I don't know, it's just something to keep in mind, or something to look out for as I am driving. But overall, really happy with how it looks. All I gotta do is find a new spot for my GoPro mount. Kind of a bummer I don't get to use my old Nismo gap filler anymore. It doesn't really fit in there in the right spot. Sorry this video was a little bit long, guys, but I haven't seen any seat installation videos for the Q50, so I wanted to make sure it was pretty thorough and you guys could see each and every one of the steps in proper detail. So hopefully you liked it, hopefully it was helpful, hopefully you guys pursue this mod as well, because a new racing seat is going to be sick in this car. Thanks for watching. A couple really fun videos coming up shortly, so stick around.